Hello, and welcome to a video I've put together about a book that's going to be released hopefully in a week or two, provisionally entitled Maelstrom Expanded. So, as you will know, we published this a good many years ago now. And this is a classic RPG, and I think everyone out there will at least have heard of this, even if they haven't actually played it. And we followed that up as one of our earliest RPG publications with the Maelstrom Companion, which brought in new rules for things like firearms, for additional livings, some additional rules, a bit of a setting, and so on. And these did well. But what we then did as Arion Games is we moved on to Maelstrom Doomsday. Now, the reasons for moving on to Maelstrom Doomsday were the original book, very fine RPG, but there were a few, should we say, balance issues with regards to combat. There were some additional rules we wanted to put in with magic and so on and so forth. But the other big thing you often hear when you discuss Maelstrom is, what do you do with the characters? So there are plenty of Tudor livings in here. You've got tradesmen like butchers and grocers. You've got craftsmen like blacksmiths. You've got professionals like architects. You've got mercenaries and rogues and beggars and travelling players and nobles and priests and mages and so on. But you assemble these into a party, and what do you do with them? And so Maelstrom Doomsday, in a way, was part of a response to that, which was you make them work for someone who will then give them jobs and support and so on. And in Doomsday, given the very supernatural element to a lot of early legends, the characters are supernatural investigators. Now, when I wrote Maelstrom Doomsday and I spoke to Alex about doing this, the thing he said was, fine, you want to redo a new setting, fine. You want to revamp the rules, fine. But don't do it Tudor, because I want there to be a reason to buy the original book. Because the original book is a great game. And I've been thinking recently, how can I build on that? So this is a great game. This adds something to it. But neither of those really give you a structured campaign to play. And I think very much in the Maelstrom line, Gothic, Rome, Doomsday, they've all had a specific thing that you do. And obviously you can take Maelstrom Doomsday and do Robin Hood with it, or you could do different medieval intrigue, or you could do peasants surviving against the Normans, or whatever. You don't have to play the structured campaign, but I think it's good to have a structured campaign for these games. Hence Maelstrom Expanded. So this book is going to contain the chapters you see there. So we're going to revamp character creation. I should say we have revamped character creation. Character creation in Expanded is not going to be the life path of Doomsday or Rome, because I wanted to keep the original livings of Maelstrom. What it is, though, is a whole load of random tables, so that you can create a fully random character, much as you did in Doomsday. Or not fully random, because you've still got choices to make with stats, attributes, and so on. We've put in a lot more characteristics. So in this one, you've got things that I termed as fates, and I later renamed them as characteristics in here. So I kept the characteristics term. And these are things like large or brawler or nervous or whatever. And these are things that affect your character, both good and bad, because it's random. Some people in life are nervous, and other people love getting into fights. It's just how it is. And so you create your random characters with that, and we've got various options in there, and there is a selection mode and so on. I won't go into the details because that's for reading the book. As you can see, we've got chapter 3, which is combat revision. So what that does is takes this and this, and I'm going to refer to these a lot, of course, over the course of this video, and it brings together the firearms from the Maelstrom Companion, the advanced rules from here, additional bits from Doomsday like combat options, and additional serious and critical wound tables, an additional bodge table, and so on. brings those in to create a more rounded combat set of combat rules. We've also expanded the magic somewhat. We talk more about magical specialities. So that is where you could have a fire mage or a water mage or someone who curses or whatever. So we've got some of that in there. We've also taken the breach rules and adapted those from Doomsday, so that if you make a mistake with casting, or indeed it's just luck, you actually get long-term effects of that. But we've changed the breach table to make it more appropriate for a Tudor setting. We've then got a bit on patrons. So like in Doomsday, you work for a patron, a powerful, influential, probably rich person. But of course, in Doomsday, you're working for a Norman who is loyal to King William. In the Tudor period, as you probably know, politics were very Byzantine. There were 1,001 different factions at the royal court, and people who were staunch supporters of the king one week were deadly enemies the next, and then there were staunch supporters again. Previously, staunch supporters were executed by the king, and even if you go into the reign of Edward, Mary, Elizabeth, you still got this very much favourite of the week, where someone is, the golden-eyed boy or girl at court, and then 2 months later they're in the tower being tortured because it could be that they were plotting against the king, or it could be that the enemies of that person got to the king, or it could be that the king just changed his mind. And you look through the histories, and I think that was something that happened. So the characters work for this powerful and influential person. Importantly, though, the patron, and again, there are loads of tables to randomize this patron, because the patron is not a real historical person. Because what I didn't want is to put in a historical person as a patron, and then because the players have access to the internet, you could, or even books, and I know people do still read books occasionally, they could go back and look up that particular historical person and see if they were loyal or a traitor or whatever. So the patron has a secret goal. Now, it might be that they are a staunch loyalist to the king, despite whatever the king might say about them. And even if the king turns on them, they remain a staunch loyalist of the king and the monarchy. Or it could be that they're traitors and they want to depose the monarchy. It could be they want to put their own candidate on the throne. It could be they want to get rid of monarchy altogether. It could be that they're a fanatical religionist. It could be that they just want to make as much money as they possibly can, and if they have to steal from the state effectively, well, then that's what they're going to do. It could be even something stranger, like they want to discover the philosopher's stone and achieve immortal life, or become a master of magic, or something like that. And the real key here to this campaign structure is that the players don't know this. The players don't know what the real goal of their patron is. They are employed to run missions. They might be delivering letters. It might be guarding someone. It might be setting up a trade route. It might be designing and building a new stately home in the countryside. It might be traveling to France to the French court. It might be whatever. But in these missions, they are paid by their patron. And the players, the characters, will have a public view of the patron. The patron might make lots of public statements. I support the king. I'm really behind the king. But actually, behind the scenes, they're a traitor. So they might think they're working to support the king, and actually they are engaged in traitorous activities. And because the campaign, like Doomsday, is going to take place over several years, probably not such long time scales. You might have 2-3 events in a year. You might have a year off. You might come back and have 1 or 2 events, then a couple of years off, then 1 year, and so on. But it's going to take place over time. The characters become more and more deeply embedded with that patron. And of course, if they have been working against the king, even without their knowledge, for 15 game years, and then the patron is exposed actually as a traitor, the characters have no choice. They have to keep working for the patron, because if they try and stop working for the patron will denounce them, and they will end up captured, executed, and killed. So they have to keep working for the patron and hope for the best. Maybe they try and sabotage the patron, etc. And there are all of these potential opportunities within a campaign. So within the campaign section, we've got some favor rules so that you can go up and down in the favor of your patron. We've got the aging rules. We've got downtime rules so the characters can make a living in between. So an architect character can still be designing and building houses. A butcher might still run a butchery business, etc. in between missions. And we've also got additional rules for all sorts of stuff to help round that campaign out so that it takes time. And to help with that ongoing time, we've also got a timeline in there which details various events from each year, 1030 onwards, 1030, 1031, 1032, so that if the referee wants to run a particular campaign in 1030 or a particular mission in 1036, they've got some idea of what is happening. And obviously, a good history book is going to help there, but the timeline will give you at least a quick glance. And then you'll notice the Appendix 2 backers. So art is expensive. And that, of course, is the main outgoing cost with a book like this. So I've run various Kickstarters this year. The board game one is getting there, not quite complete yet, but getting there. The other ones have been completed on time, and so that's done. But to do a new Kickstarter or game fan campaign, I would need covers, and I would need campaign images, and I would need a video, and I would need text, and I would need to submit it to the crowdfunding site and then wait potentially 2 weeks for it to be approved. And then I would need to release it, and then I would need a goal, and then the money appears 2 weeks after that goal is set, and etc., etc. And certainly with Christmas coming up, running crowdfunding campaigns over Christmas is never good. I've done it once, never again. So that means pushing it back into January, February next year. But I have a different one planned for Maelstrom Doomsday Crusades and so on. So what I'm actually going to do with this, in a way like this, is it's going to be A5, the new book. Okay, going to be relatively simple layout, very much like the original Doomsday. But when I first release the book, it is not going to be illustrated. There may well be a cover. I think I've got something worked out for that, but there's not going to be any internal illustrations. There's going to be gaps. The layout's going to be there. The rules are going to be there, but there's going to be no art. What I'm then going to do is, and that's going to be very, very, very clear on the Drive-Thru RPG page. Then what I'm going to do is I'm also going to put a little graphic, which is going to be a progress bar. So if I then sell however many copies and it brings in enough money to pay for the first piece of art, I can say to the artist, yep, can you get that one done, please? The first piece of art is done, put into the book. The backers, the purchaser's name goes into the backer list. I update the PDF. And then a week later, we might have enough, 2 more bits of art. So I commission 2 more bits and the backer names. So I'll try and update this regularly. So it will sort of be like an open crowdfund. And it will be, to begin with, PDF only. However, when the target is reached, the goal is reached, 2 things will happen. Firstly, the price of the PDF will go up slightly. So that's to reward these early supporters, these early backers for backing it at that point. The other thing that will happen is that we will then get a print version done. And anyone who has bought the PDF will get a discount code, or backed it up until that point, will get a discount code for the print version so that they don't pay any more than if they'd waited until that point. In fact, they will pay less because they will get a full PDF discount. So they will actually get the print version cheaper as well. And of course, they're helping to make it come alive. Now, because it's open-ended, this might end up taking 6 months if it doesn't sell very well. If it sells really well, it might happen in a month. Who knows? And so it will sort of be promoted almost as a crowdfunder, as a Kickstarter. But of course, it has the added benefit that you click on buy on Drive-Thru RPG and you get, admittedly, the art-free PDF on your computer that minute, which you can read, which you can print, which you can use in your games, and you're not having to wait for the end of the campaign for that to be released. So that might work better. So I might even I will probably do a different video when I release it, explaining what the crowdfunding is about. Otherwise, hopefully this is of interest. I think what it will do is it will bring Maelstrom in a way right up to date. It'll turn it into a doomsday type structured game where you've got your nice structured coherent rules, but you still need this original book to play, and potentially this one. You didn't absolutely need this one, but I think it really does help. So hopefully that's of interest, and I will speak to you next time. Thank you very much.